I'm Tina Falk, the endorsed Democratic candidate for First Selectman for the town of Griswold. Over the next few weeks, we will be visiting neighborhoods to introduce ourselves and listen to your thoughts and concerns.
Hello, my name is Rich Grabowski, and I am the Democratic candidate for Selectman here in Griswold. This Democratic slate is a proven and experienced team.
And our Democratic team wants you to know that we are committed to restoring unity in our community.
Family Motors has arrived. They're your local auto super center. Put some excitement in your day and rent a Polaris Slingshot from Strain Family Motors, adjacent to the Green Onion Restaurant on River Road. Check out Strain Family Motors Super Center on Facebook as well as strainfamilymotors.com for everything sales, service, and excitement. River Road, Lisbon, Strain Family Motors, your local auto super center.
Buy better.
Better it burns.
Much better.
So much better it burns.
Are you tired of resetting passwords, getting locked out of websites, and listening to hold music for days? Do you really think 15 minutes is enough time to spend ensuring your biggest investments? The Burns Agency is here to help with in-person real-time customer care for all your insurance needs. Buy better with the Burns Agency for auto, home, business, and life.
Right insurance at the right price. You buy better it burns.
You buy better, it burns. You buy better.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to SNSN for a Monday morning. As we know, it is election season, and we have proven that on our end that we know by having multiple candidates on in the last couple of weeks, and today is no exception. As today we welcome in current Board of Education member Marty Osgood. Good morning, Marty. How are you? Hey, why don't you pull that microphone right on up to you? Keep on going, yeah, because you want to. There you go. Thanks. And candidate for Board of Education, Todd Babbitt. How are you, Todd?
Good. How are you?
Good. Todd, you're no stranger to this show. You've been on many times.
A few times
in the past and everything.
Yeah.
Marty, is this the second time?
I believe, yeah, second time. I think.
All right. You were here when we were up in the other place, right?
Right.
I don't think you've been here in our
Haven't
new
been
gig.
in this new building.
No. So, Marty, how long have you been on the Board of Education? I mean, is this your first tenure? Have you been on before, or?
I served out a tenure by a past board member, and then this is my first full tenure. So I believe this is my fifth or sixth year.
Okay. And how much longer is this? Are you on a 6 year?
4 years.
4 year? Okay. So is it next year or the year after?
This
That you're up for re-election?
This is my up for election year.
See, no, I thought you were in for another 2 years.
No, this
No.
will be the start of my first 4-year term.
Oh, okay. All right. And Todd, this is your first time going for the Board of Education.
Yes.
So now, Todd, you have a history in town government and town service and everything. So, what makes you run for the Board of Education?
Well, originally I was going to run for the Board of Selectmen, and then my wife decided to run for First Selectman, so that was a conflict of interest. And
A lot of fights in the house.
Well, to me, it's an obvious conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So I backed out of that, and I wanted to stay involved. And the Board of Ed 2-year seat was one of the openings that was available. So I figured that was a good way to stay involved in the town government.
So what how do you feel that you're qualified for the Board of Education? I mean, we know you're the road supervisor in town.
Mm-hmm.
You've been for quite a many years. First selectman in town. You've been. So what makes you qualified for Board of Education?
Well, I think I have a good relationship with the superintendent, and I have with most of the superintendents that have been in that position over the years. You mentioned, the road aspect of it. That's something with the transportation. I know all the roads. I deal with the superintendents usually at 4:30 in the mornings to make the call on whether
Right.
buses are going to run. I've got a good relationship with the superintendent when I was first selectman. Obviously, we went through COVID, but one of the things we did was every Monday at 3 p.m., we had a standing meeting to keep communications flowing back and forth. So, I was very involved during that time period. And, you know, just some of the projects that I see going on, I'm interested. I think I can offer some good information and background, you know, like the turf field they just did with excavation, drainage. I mean, that's kind of my background.
It's right up your alley.
Yep. Some of that was done, you know, the renovations to the alternative school with the building maintenance and building construction that we do with Public Works. I mean, it just seems to line up with a lot of that. You know, very familiar with the budgets in town. So I think that's a good
Say
asset.
the least.
Yep. So I think that's, you know, all good reasons that I'm qualified to run for that position.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people. Why is Todd running? What? And I don't think people. I never would. I guess myself personally would have thought to think about the aspects that you just mentioned and everything. So especially even the budget situation. I mean, I know as first selectman, you know, of course, involved with that.
Right.
So
And, you know, we worked on all the budgets, you know, so we looked at the school budgets and, you know, the town budgets. So I just think it's all relative to the position.
okay, Marty, what is your background? I mean, you came in to fill in for somebody that left the board,
Right.
and so what is now? Your wife is a former Board of Ed chair. Is that correct?
No, actually, she was the former superintendent.
Superintendent.
of Griswold.
Okay, all right.
And pretty much my background is in both education and construction. I was a tech school teacher for 25 years. I was chair of the building committee that built the high school here 30 years ago. So I've always had an interest in students and the education that's going on in the town.
Okay. And today you're both ramped up on sugar from Spooktopia.
That we are.
What did you guys think of? What did you think of Spooktopia last night?
It was a very large crowd.
I didn't expect that. I was walking the dogs. I'm like, and I saw you, and you just looked like, oh crap.
Well, we were trying to judge how much candy we had left, and the line of kids coming down the hill from the Little League field area.
It was substantial.
Yeah, it was a substantial line up there. There were 4 wide all the way up the hill.
I didn't know. What did you think of Spooktopia?
Well, unfortunately, I had to miss it. We were
okay.
in Branford for my granddaughter. She's in a swim meet down there, and we didn't get home till late. So.
Oh, it's hey, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of candy if you is there, or did it all go? I don't know.
Most of ours went. Ours went.
Because I usually we walk the park, you know, with our dogs. It's usually a route that we walk. And last night, my dogs were all kind of confused because they were like, "What what's going on here?" But there were 2,000-3,000 people.
I would say at least. At least they were lined up just waiting to get down the rows. I mean, it was pretty impressive with the amount of turnout they had.
Yeah, I think they were worried too that the word wasn't going to get out. You know, that they had switched days.
It got out
in a hurry. So let me see. I don't know why nothing is coming through the chat. Is anybody out there? I know I see the numbers there. But I don't see anything happening in the chat room, which is weird. Hold on one second. All right, we're here. I mean, nobody can see me right now, but they can hear me. Here we are. I don't know why. All right, so I backed out and went back in. Now all of a sudden there's a blue dot here in the chat. So let's see what happened here. I want to make sure. I want to make sure that if anybody is there wants to ask questions or whatever, you know, they can go ahead and do so. So all of a sudden, there we go. All right, Laura, good morning. Christopher, good morning. The Griswold Senior Center. Here's a question for you. Did Mr. Babbitt ever teach?
Yes. I substituted at the trade schools in the 90s in the shop areas. I did that for a few years.
And you taught as well, correct?
Right.
What did you teach?
I taught carpentry shop at Grasso Tech in Groton.
See, I think everybody thinks that to be a Board of Education member, you have to be some sort of teacher or some sort, and that's not necessarily the case, is it?
I think you have people on there that, haven't been in that position of a teaching role. And you have had in the past also.
I think the mixture of both is very important. A couple of teachers doesn't hurt, and people who haven't taught.
Someone that's sometimes people don't click the button to let you know who they are. Someone says Facebook user and says, "I'm here, Mike," and I don't know who you are. It just says Facebook user. And Tyler, I don't know if this is something for the Board of Education, but he just says, "Ashland Street speeding." I don't know where we're going with that. How does the Board of Ed feel about speeding on Ashland Street? Maybe they're carrying a book. I don't know.
I mean, I guess if it is relative to kids walking to school, something like that, it could be, a concern. And if we were going to address that, I think we'd have to reach out to the borough and maybe have the resident trooper kind of do some patrol in that area if it's, a situation with students walking.
Yeah. Well, in Ashland Street, there are quite a few kids that are out there in the morning waiting for a bus.
Yep.
And there has been a stop sign that's been added there not too long ago, which I assume is try to control the speed on Ashland.
Well, that's been there. I think you may be talking about the flashing light that's there that the borough put up.
Well, years ago, we only had one stop sign at Carly Avenue coming down from Taylor Hill, and then we did add the one across the street. And
when was that? That was quite some time ago.
Yeah, yeah. And then we put the beacons up to help with the people that were rolling through or driving through the stop signs.
And I think people have figured that light out now.
Probably over time,
Yeah. But anyway, that is because I live right there at that light. I mean, people know where I live. They see my car there, so my car's not hard to find. Scott Fryer just he has a question, or actually just a comment, and I asked this years ago myself, and I asked this of Phil Anthony years ago, and he said, "Well, we can't because we won't get funding or something or whatever." And I just looked at him and I didn't understand the answer. But speed bumps. What about the possibility of speed bumps?
Some towns do them in low speed, like downtown areas, but they can become problematic with plowing in the wintertime.
Okay.
A lot of towns do seasonal when traffic flows increase, for different reasons in small districts where there's a tourist area or something like that, and then they remove them before the winter. But I don't think it has any effect on funding. I know some towns.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I thought there was
one town locally had them installed on a state road, which was in their downtown area, and then had to wait a couple of years till the grant was expired, and then they removed them. So.
Could that actually become problematic for roads that people aren't aware there's a speed bump there if they travel very fast?
It could, but usually there's advanced warning signage that goes up, to alert them of that if they see it.
Got it. Marty, what was what was your stance? One of the biggest things that happened within this last, I want to say, election cycle, but just really in the town of Griswold alone is the multi-purpose field. And you were on that building committee, correct?
I was on the first committee that was a board sanctioned committee that looked into it, and we had people involved that pushed it forward, and we thought it would be a big draw for the town of Griswold for students coming in. And I mean, there's no proof there yet, but it seems like enrollment's up, so it seemed like it had a lot to do with it. There definitely was a lot of interest in town for the multi-purpose field, and it happened pretty quickly. We got started last year, I think, in April. And
well, the ad hoc committee started when?
That started probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was part of that ad hoc committee that got it started, which was a subcommittee of the board.
Right.
So we were very glad to see that come to fruition and come to be.
What is your answer to people when they say, well, it's just way too much money?
Well, I mean, over the use it gets in town now, not only of the school sports program, but the midget football league. And I mean, most towns, a regular grass field, pretty hard to put up with that kind of play now and that kind of. All it took was one rainstorm and we're pretty much into mud. And because of all the teams that play on it between lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, football. I mean, it's in use pretty much
Every day.
every day.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big, huge fan of it. So
yeah. And it was a really big draw that the kids love it. I mean, athletes that play on it, it's a great thing for them. I mean, it took a lot of looking into on our part because turf field has progressed a lot over the years from when it first came in. And a lot of injuries. And now I'm not saying there aren't any injuries, but it's pretty much lower than what the turf fields of years ago used to present.
yeah. I think it was like opening night was phenomenal with the first game and then the fireworks afterwards. That was just one hell of a night for Griswold.
Yeah.
And anybody that I talked to that was, I guess you could say, against the field going in, once they look at it, they kind of change their mind.
It looks very nice.
Yeah.
I went to the opening
Yep.
game.
Yeah, I saw
and
you
the
there.
ceremony that they had before.
Yeah. A lot of people were kind of against it into the money that was spent. I mean, it did pass in referendum, but I firmly believe in years to come, it'll totally pay for itself.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you 100%. Todd, what is your stance on the field itself? And because again, that was a big sticking point with a lot of people in town.
Yeah. So it came in front of the Board of Selectmen to go to referendum, and there were a lot of people pro and con. But I'm a firm believer that with the Board of Selectmen, it shouldn't be three people making a decision like that. You send it out to a vote, let the people decide. And that's what we did. And I think that's the fair way to do it. If people want it, they're going to vote for it. If they don't, they're not going to. But, that should satisfy people that had pros or cons for that project.
Sure. Yeah, it was voted for, and that should be the end of it. But then you have a lot of people say, well, it was really, really close.
It was, but that's the process.
Right. One of the directions it seemingly things are going is always more of a business model with Griswold Public Schools. And one of the big pieces of business that they do are sending towns. So are you for or against the expansion of more sending towns? I mean, we even have like Norwich now, Preston, 8 sending towns.
It's somewhere around that number.
Okay.
It's the 7 sending towns, and the list has been growing over the years. So,
Right. I mean, how do you gentlemen feel about the expansion of that program? And tell me why that you feel that way.
I think the expanding into tuition, and especially even like talking about the football field and the football team. I mean, right now, I think we're almost 50-50 Griswold students and tuition students. And I think the more we draw, the better the education in town becomes. So I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. You talk about a business model. I think, that's something that it comes to marketing. You're marketing your school to other towns to try to draw them in, which I think is a good thing. But you have to have that balance too, where you don't get so many students that now we're out of room again. And, you have to have that balance. You have to know where you can be, I think, and how you can handle that flow of students coming in from other towns.
Yeah, and I think to Marty's point about how the field will end up paying for itself is, and I feel you'll get that through a lot of the sending town kids that want to come in and play at a smaller school, perhaps. And if you're playing at a smaller school, you're probably going to play instead of sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
correct. And so Griswold presents something unique because we have a small campus. All schools are right there, and we're not a big town, and so it presents kind of a unique campus for students from sending towns who want to come to Griswold.
Right. Did you have some, Dad?
No, I just,
Okay,
you
I'm
know,
sorry.
I mean, I can remember back years ago when I was a kid when we had double sessions.
Yeah, me too.
And,
Portable classrooms.
Yeah, and you know, it was rough times depending if you had the morning session or the afternoon session. So
First half of the year you went in the morning. Second half of the year you went in the afternoon.
exactly.
You get home at 5:30, and it's like,
Yeah,
hey, Dad coming home. Get the
even
same
to
lunch
reflect
box.
back on that, which brought the new high school into play. I think at that time we were dealing with 21 or 22 portable classrooms
yeah,
that
there was
were
quite
on
a few.
site. So that was a big selling point to expand the campus.
Expansion of the campus. What about the getting more into special education? I know that as far as the alternative school, it's moved from Griswold to a retrofitted home, kind of, right, to the former senior center.
Correct.
So how is that for size going forward? Or is that going to be something that you're going to outgrow, especially with maybe sending town kids?
We shouldn't outgrow it because right now we think the capacity could be.
Well, we didn't think we were going to outgrow the senior center either.
That's true.
Now look.
But we can expand from the amount of students we deal with now out on 201 to almost doubling that size, and also offering classes down to the 7th and 8th grade level and not just 9 through 12. So it will draw more funding to town. 'Cause you
Right.
have
Well, obviously.
more space and more different ways to deal with the alternative school. And it's also closer to the main campus because the students are transported back and forth for lunch and different classes and stuff like that. So it'll be a big cost savings too, not only for the fact of drawing more tuition students from different towns.
So what happens when we continue to, let's say we double it? We double the tuition over there. Where to then? Because it's going to happen, and I think it's going to go on a fast track at this point with all the expansion that's been going on. I think you're going to see more and more quickly.
If that happens, I guess that's something we'll have to deal with, cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Todd, what do you think? Do you think we'll outgrow the new?
I don't know that we'll outgrow it, but I'll just say that I think it is a much better fit or facility.
Yeah.
You know, it's closer to the campus. I think it looks more like an educational facility being brick. The other one looked more residential.
Yep.
You know, and again, we'll go back on history, but I remember there was a couple taxpayers years and years ago when we had it in Norwich that were complaining about busing the students to Norwich, maintaining the property in Norwich, and really wanted to spend
The alternative school.
really wanted to spend money here paying rent to a taxpayer in town instead of, you know, sending our money for rent out of town. And I think that started the process to bring that school back, the alternative school back into Griswold.
Chris has a comment, which really means nothing. I'm going to just put it out there because I think he's being a goofball. He goes, I miss school pizza. And to be honest with you, I do too. I miss the school pizza, the rectangular with a little bit of sauce on top and maybe about 3 shreds of cheese. Eat up. That was good. They used to have these things called bacon burgers back in the day.
I don't remember them.
There was no burger and there was no bacon. I'm telling you, it was some sort of meat patty, and it was somewhat crispy on the outside and was kind of like a blonde colored meat. And it, again, no bacon and no burger, but they were delicious.
I don't remember those.
Yeah. Oh no, these are things I remember from Griswold High School, which is now the middle school.
Yep.
And did you go to the middle school as a high school as well? Or?
We had the elementary school was K through 8, and the high school was the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have the new high school at that point.
And the other thing I remember is the apple crisp was amazing. I don't know. I'm 57 years old and I still remember that stuff. I still remember that stuff. So Marty, I mean, you're running for a 4-year term here. What is next? You know, I mean, there have been so many accomplishments, you know, with the Board of Education recently. So we've talked the alternative school. We've talked the new multi-purpose field. We haven't even talked about And I believe you had a lot to do with the sign out front.
Right, campus sign out front.
You know, so
Forward.
where do we go now? What's next?
Well,
What's the next addition that people can complain about?
I think we're always looking to improve. I think in this past year or two, we have the 2 new computer labs that were put in, which is a big draw for students. And with the administration that we have, our superintendent and our assistant superintendent now, I think the road ahead brings a lot of opportunities. And I think you're always looking to improve. You don't want to just sit on.
Well, that's why I asked, what's next? Because there's been so many things that have happened
right
in the last cycle alone.
This past couple of years, there's been a lot that has happened. I mean, one of the next big things, at least on my plate, is trying to do something with our tennis courts that are unplayable right now.
Yep.
Something to try to bring that back, not only for the school, but for the town as a whole. Have something there that they can use and something they can play on.
Have you heard the pickleball?
Pickleball's a big thing. And
Yeah.
part of those courts would be 2 pickleball courts. And so hopefully we can bring that forward.
You ever play pickleball?
I haven't.
No, I have not.
No, me either. But it looks like a lot of fun. It's like tennis for people over 50.
Right. You don't have to move quite as much.
No. Get it out of the kitchen. They're that's that they call one part the kitchen. I don't even know what they're talking about half the time. I just had a question really that was actually relevant to expansion and stuff. But that comes to my mind. It's like, now what? What do we do now? Does the board just sit there and go, now what do we do? Now I know you talk about the computer labs, and esports is growing a lot.
Right. I think you always got to be looking to improve. What can we do to improve not only facilities but education as a whole?
Has there been any talk of bringing back like a shop program? Because that's been gone for a long time.
I think they do use it and through the part of as much as they can with the facilities that we have to try, because there's a big influx, not only an influx, but there's a big need for that in an industry right now is manufacturing. So schools are trying to do what they can to try to promote and bring students ready that can go into that field.
Tradesmen. I know. Of course, the tech schools do that. But what about? I mean, Griswold, are they? Could they get into, that kind of road? With a couple of programs. I mean, I remember Mr. Palumbo.
Yeah.
Mr. Russ Palumbo.
Yep.
The shop teacher and stuff like that. And we need plumbers in the future. Right. We need electricians,
carpenters, trade fields.
Yeah.
And I think you still have the program with the workforce pipeline that Sean and I kind of met with that group that initiated that and brought that in, which is a good program for students that enroll in that to kind of get a jump on the average person getting out of high school, going to somewhere like EB. It gives you some basics that you can go in with where you're above some.
Collins and Jewell is part of that, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Chris Jewell was the head of it when we. He
was a big supporter of Griswold High School.
Yes.
So.
Yep. So I mean, I think that's a good plus for students. To get that upper hand on the average person coming off the street applying somewhere like that. But I can remember, the high school having a wood shop, like you said, with Mr. Palumbo. They would build sheds and sell them to people in the public, and they did a lot of projects.
You know what Mr. Palumbo did as a sideline? He actually had a side hustle. He sold timeshare.
I didn't know that.
Not even kidding you.
No.
It was pretty funny. Rich Waslick says, always have to look forward, look down the road, or the time will pass you by. And I think that's pretty much what's been happening anyway, which is pretty good. Because there's just this last cycle, like I said, there's been so many things that have come into play, and it's like, what do you do now? So, I thought you were going to say,
I just think that looking forward, you have to see how the needs change. What the students are looking for, how things change in general, to see where you're going to go and what you're going to change. You have to be open-minded to what the changes are or what they're going to be.
I had a question right in on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember what the heck it is. If you guys remember what it is, let me know. Is there anybody in the chat room that has any questions for either Todd Babbitt or Marty Osga? See, this is the thing. It's like there's quite a few people out there right now watching and everything. It's like, now they have an opportunity to ask. And then it's like, crap. And they don't do it. So if anybody, not you, Chris, you're in Alabama. But anybody else that may have a question? Nope. You guys looking forward to the big debate tonight?
I'm going to go.
You're going to go?
Yep. Right. I'll be there.
Marnie, you're gonna go up there and raise hell?
Well, I don't know about raising hell, but we hope to go. And
is there anything else that you guys want to mention or anything about the Board of Education? Or, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of things that I didn't ask that maybe you wanted to talk about. Marty, what is one subject that maybe you want to go ahead and jump in on?
well, I mean, right now, I think, and hopefully with the additions of Todd and that, I think the board has been a very cohesive unit. I mean, it's a group of 7 people that get along very well. I mean, the superintendent brings a lot of stuff to the table, and I think that's a big plus to the system. I mean, I think he's a big plus to the system. I think he's been here 7 years now or so, and I mean, we keep moving forward, and I mean, there's a lot of good things happening, and hope that continues to go forward.
Todd?
The only other thing I'll say is, I do have grandkids in the school system, so I'm kind of up to speed on, what they can provide. If I had kids in the school system, they would have graduated probably 20 years ago, so it wouldn't really be relevant. But I feel that having grandkids there currently, is also relevant to what is going on and getting some feedback. But I think I have a lot to offer. I'm putting myself out there and offering to put my time in to assist and help where I think I can, which I think I do have some qualities that could be put to use.
Rich wants to know, and I don't understand. Rich, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Maybe the candidates will. How do they feel about the race studied? I don't know what is meant by that. And he says, can't remember the formal name off the top of my head. I
Sure.
Richie, I'm not sure what you're asking there. All right, well, I'm going to move on. Here's an instant message that was sent in. Rich, I think you're Typo City over there, bro. I think he's talking gender and race curriculum. I'm not sure. And Daryl goes, do you mean critical race theory? Crickets? No?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, critical race theory. Okay. I don't know, Rich. I don't know. I don't know. No answers there? Because I don't really honestly know.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what he's referring to. I mean, as education moves forward, I mean, it's a one race educational system now. I mean, and I think that's the way we need to go to move forward.
Scott says, Scott Fryer goes, building new curriculum is also a major continuing upgrade.
Correct. I mean, the things that are happening now.
And he's one of your current members right now.
Correct. I'm like 20 years removed from the educational system. Seeing new things that are happening in the school now, I think are really amazing. Not only the commuter labs, but the open classrooms, the way things are structured. I think it lends new educational meaning to all learning levels. That brings them together.
Erica wants to know, what are your opinions on the current educational or the education curriculum? Do you feel that there needs to be changes to encompass more to more people, or just stick with the old?
I think curriculum has always been looked at and always changing to bring it to modern times. And like it says, the open classroom, getting all children, all students a chance to participate, and not the old structured, everybody sits in their class and raise your hand when you're ready. Kind of getting away from that and touring the facilities and touring the classrooms and seeing it. I think it's pretty phenomenal to see and to watch and to be part of.
Yeah, one of the things that I was never good at, I was never a good test taker. I was never the kid that was going to do well by doing a 75 question multiple choice exam. And I remember telling the Mr. Tremblay back in the day, the guidance counselor, I'm not good at this. And it doesn't matter if you talk to me about it. We could have a conversation about what we learned in class. But for some reason, I couldn't fill in the bubbles, and I don't know if I was panicking or what. I mean, are things changing that way when it comes to like assessments, or are they pretty much staying the same?
I think both ways. I says that open classroom kind of, because what you're referring to is going back in a classroom of maybe 18, 20, even up to 22, 25 kids. You have all different learning levels in that class. And as a teacher, it's hard to, promote or transport what you're trying to teach, because some get it right away and they might get bored with the thing, others don't get it. So the new ways, I think, addresses most of the different learning levels that are sitting before a teacher and hoping to learn what the teacher has to present.
Yeah.
And I think the way they're going today, it's what I consider to be all inclusive. Like Marty said, you've got a range of students at different levels, but it kind of promotes them to be all included in that.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't like that when I was in school. It was like either you did well or you were ostracized.
Yeah.
And then you had these cliques that, were built upon that. And then even socially, you were unaccepted and everything. I didn't belong to any cliques. I didn't care about cliques, to be honest with you. But I was a solid B- student, but a lot of my friends were straight A's. And then they kind of look at you like, and it's like, well, I did better than you. It's funny. It's I know a lot of kids that didn't do well in school because of the old way of, or the old grading system that did excellent in life.
Right. A lot of those students just get lost in the process.
Yeah. Jennifer says, I'm just going to read this right out. Post-COVID, there has been many discussions about students lagging and making progress towards their pre-COVID benchmarks. Does the Board of Education track that progress? And if so, what are we doing to be sure our students are on par with other students statewide and nationwide?
I mean, that's an excellent question. I mean, we've just been talking about that the past since school opened, about what's happening, because the COVID era last year and the year before really knocked a lot of students backwards. And
Right.
It was tough times, and now we're beginning to see through testing in the grammar school and in the high school that students are beginning to progress and getting back on track, and being compared to other systems in our area. We're either at par or ahead of some of those systems right now. So there's been a big improvement in education to address those facts and figures that question is being presented. And yes, we do see a progress coming out of COVID now, and I think that's a big plus.
Todd, do you have anything to add?
Well, I just think it was a time period to get everybody back on track. We were just completely different situation than everybody going to school every day. So it takes a while to get everybody back on track. And I think when that happens and when we get there, like Marty said, things will change. It sounds like we're seeing that.
Scott Fryer continuing, he had great candy last night, by the way. Him and Brenda, they had excellent candy. I ate most of it. Continuing to build creative, relevant curriculum should always be at the top of the list of the Board of Education. During my tenure, I felt that Griswold has done an amazing job of this. kids are more than just test scores in someone's scatter plot. I agree with that. Rich Waslick says the schools are ahead of most of the state right now. Do you have any comments on that? I'm just reading off comments that people are saying. I mean,
I know people had said that, how you're going to improve testing scores, things like that. And if you look back, 3, 4, 5 years on the state numbers, they are progressively going up. It's not something that you can, jump way ahead overnight. I mean, it takes time, but it seems to steadily be going up.
Is there a giant effect seen by COVID in schools socially? And if there is, what is being done specifically to address it? This is from Rich.
I mean, my thoughts are that, yes, there was, you didn't have that interaction. You might have had a few kids that got together with a few neighbors or friends, but you didn't have that big group interaction. And I think that's part of getting people back on track when they get back into the school like they are now on a full-time basis and, promoting that.
But do you think a lot of the kids that went through COVID that are in school are still, they're still falling behind socially? Academically is one thing. I mean, that can always be fixed and ramped up, but what about social programs?
Socially, I think that was an issue in the past couple of years, but now all students are back in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big plus to bring them. Because in the past, you had some students at home, you had some students in the system and in school. And it was a lot to bring that back to what it should be, where all students are with their peers in the classroom and learning. And it took a while to get back to that, get back to moving forward, but I think we have. And so that's a big plus, I think.
Okay. All right. Any more? Because you guys have better questions than I do. I'm just here to facilitate this. I'm kind of a bonehead when it comes to especially the educational type folk. What about here's something from Neil. What about disciplinary actions? Has that changed over the since from pre-COVID to post-COVID? With different kids, are we more lenient with kids? Are we more concerned about their feelings? And we were talking about sports and everything. Everybody gets a participation trophy, and you can't have a 70-0 win anymore because little Freddie may get his feelings hurt or whatever. When I lost 70-0, that was like awesome. It was like we lost, woohoo, we got killed. Now it's like let's worry about because
I think all that leads to the plus of discipline. The more students you can keep involved, there are all kinds of sports programs now that are offered for the kids, so they all have something to do. They mingle with one another. I think it helps in overall discipline. It helps in the classroom. It helps the whole system to improve. The more kids that you can keep involved in extracurricular activities, the better it is.
You just said it, extracurricular activities. And that's a lot of things that voters kind of tend to get away from because it may cost a few extra bucks. But extracurricular activities, I think, are so important to building a kid, and going forward.
Yeah, I think it keeps them occupied. It keeps them involved. It teaches team building in some cases. There's a lot that can be learned through those extracurricular activities.
Have attitudes changed from students towards teachers? I mean, you hear stories all the time about how some students are just incredibly rude or whatever to teachers. There's really not a lot you can do about it.
I mean, I think you're always going to have that. I think it's been happening now to a smaller extent. So
it's slowing down. It's
slowing down. The more you can keep students involved, the better off they are. I mean, you're always going to have a few that feel left out or don't want to take part. And I mean, it comes from different things, different backgrounds, but I think we have a lot of students that are involved in activities. I think it helps all the way around, helps academically, and it helps in team sports, and it helps in overall character building for the students.
Absolutely. Todd, any?
No, I don't have
No?
anything for that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap things up by, I'm just going to ask you guys to both, take a look, at the camera or just kind of speak frankly. And Marty, since you're already on the board, you're seeking re-election. Why should somebody vote for Marty Osga for Board of Education?
Well, I think part of that is I've been there for a while. I think I've done a lot to promote not only education, but sports facilities and facilities in general in town, and also seeing the growth of the education facility and the student growth in the school, I think is a big part of the board, and seeing that move forward with administration is something that's very fulfilling. And I would love to spend those next 4 years hoping the system and the educational facilities move forward.
And you want world peace.
That would be great.
There we go. All right, Mr. Babbitt, pretty much the same question to you. Why should a voter go to the polls and vote for Todd Babbitt for Board of Education?
Well, I think, like I said, I have a lot to offer for the position. I have some different backgrounds that I think can be helpful to the board, especially some of the subcommittees that have been formed recently that could be formed in the future. And, I'm looking to continue to give back to my community, and I would like to stay involved.
Very good. All right, gentlemen, anything else that either one of you want to add that we haven't touched on, or this is really your time? I mean, if you know that, if you have anything, if not, you're good.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Good. I think this is just a great opportunity in the next month or so to move Griswold forward.
The election is 2 weeks away.
2 weeks from
2
tomorrow.
weeks from tomorrow. Rich Roslock says thank you. Scott, I want to make sure I didn't miss something. Scott says, what about ECC football? I don't. Scott, I'm a bonehead. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're caveating off of somebody else's comment, but I didn't want you to think I was ignoring this. I don't know if you were replying to Rich. I just don't want to make sure. I just try to make sure everyone gets included here in what they're saying, because it's really, this whole program is really about the people that are in the chat room. It's not about me. It's about whatever questions that they have and stuff. So anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much. Tonight we have a debate which will be starting at 7:00 tonight. It's going to emanate from the Jewett City Firehouse. 7:00. We're going to have the Republican candidate and the Democratic candidates. So it'll be Mr. Malin and is it Ms. Falk? I asked her that the other day. It's going to be Tina and Wayne. That'll be tonight. It'll be 7:00. Janice Steinhagen will be hosting it. Janice, of course, a retired journalist from Current Community, plus the Hartford Current, and she will be facilitating the debate. Oh, I see what it is. It says change your headline. The headline said ECC football. Scott, this thing goes back and forth. It's crazy. Oh, God. Well, anyway, thanks for that, Scott. I got it. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on in, and we'll be back tomorrow morning for the regular show, and then, of course, tonight for the debate at 7:00.